Mike, 3 really close ball games. Just what did you think of the series overall and how you guys performed tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good series, hard fought, tight, a lot of big moments. You know, basically didn't get it done, as a wrap up point. There's a lot of hurt guys in that clubhouse, but we laid it out on the field, and there's no regrets on anybody's part. Just disappointed.
Kyle?
Just from your vantage point on the strike call on Xander in the ninth, just what did you see from your vantage point on in that situation?
Looked down to me, but I don't see great, and I'm kind of far away. But most importantly, Bogey felt like he was down. He's not a guy that is looking. Not any of our guys really, but Bogey also in particular is not a guy that's overly dramatic about close pitches, and it's a big pitch. It's a big swing pitch. It turns a tie and run, and then what unfolded after that was could have been very impactful. But we had other opportunities too.
Back right.
Mike, your bullpen has been so good all year. Talk about the decision to go with Suarez when you did, and then your thoughts on King and his performance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, once we're in the bullpen in the second inning, and I thought the bullpen was fantastic. I mean, end of the day, we held them to a run. The Suarez decision was actually a pretty easy one. Morihone and Miller had eaten up a bulk of innings, especially yesterday. So we knew the spot for them. Suarez, we didn't pitch in the first game. He'd had some days off prior to that. 1 1/3 yesterday. Fresh's best guy. You're down 2-0 in the 6th. You're in a closing situation, and we'd already used Estrada for 2 innings, to get out of and limit the damage in the second. So at that point, it was pretty clear cut, and we knew we could go to Morihone and Miller if we had been able to tie or get ahead.
From your vantage point, what was the issue with you starting today, and what can you say about everything he's done since he came back in early July?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit of an uphill battle for you this year, starting in, even the off season into spring training, and was compromised. But I give him a ton of credit, and the medical staff did a hell of a job this whole year with our group. Mark Rogo and his group deserve a lot of credit, man. But specific to Darvish, he was able to work his way and get back, and then, took him a while to get going again. But, it's a guy with a lot of experience in the league, and, today that was pretty crisp in the first. Freddie makes a nice throw to help us get out of the early inning, but, he got a base hit, and then, Suzuki, ball down the line, and, the hit by pitch by Carson was a little bit of a red flag that maybe not as sharp, and so we got Estrada up. Armstrong, gets one in there, and that was it.
Kyle?
13 hits for the Cubs, but kind of like you've mentioned, you guys limited the damage as best you could throughout the game. Just talk about the job of the bullpen and just, not letting it snowball and just keeping you guys in it right until the very end.
Yeah, we got into a scramble early on. We knew it was a possibility. Mentioned Estrada, he comes in with nobody out, bases loaded, and Louis is there with one. Louis makes a big double play ball. Part of the bullpen that I'll continue to talk about that's important is the defense. Freddie threw a couple guys out, blocked his tail off, kept double plays in order. Louis with a big double play. But after Morihone Estrada gets his 2, we did a nice job by Wandy, get out of it. And then, Suarez, like we talked about, took down the 6th and ran some traffic in the 7th. And, man, extra pay for Morihone, right? I mean, holy, this guy's 3 days in a row, 2+ yesterday, throwing 99. And was able to leave him out there and take down the 7th. And Morgan's been a guy that, I would have preferred to have Miller in there. Nothing against David, but with the lead. But it's good to see David get in there and trust him. And he's had a nice year and got a bright future for us as well. But bullpen we scratched and clawed and kept it right there. And, talking about defense, I don't think they give an MVP for this round. I'd give it to Swanson. I mean, Dansby played his tail off, man. He almost single-handedly beat us with his glove. We talk about in the modern game about the pitching, and we talk about the offense and who we're hitting for and all the things that are, appropriate to talk about in our game. But the one thing that we don't talk about as much anymore is your defense. And this time of year, your defense, and we played great defense, but Dansby Swanson absolutely beat us with his glove this series.
Go to the back right.
Mike, I know you guys talk about finding solutions. How hard was it to find a solution when Laureano goes down that late in the season, and how much did that affect the buttons you were able to push or not push here in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm glad you brought that up because that's really a trademark of this team. And like I said, we're super disappointed. But we just got through talking amongst the team, and I'm going to segue off into something else and bring the point full circle for you. But because it is about the winners finding solutions. And, we've had, like most teams, every team in this league has their circumstances. It's how you deal with them. And there's not a complainer in the whole group, staff, player, nobody. And so, specific to Laureano when he goes down or Jason Adam goes down, you figure it out. You figure it out the best you can. And, we've had guys, just hugged on Michael King, and, Michael got 70 innings, but was out there with the heart of a champion today and took down an inning for us. You talk also about the solution piece. It's a good opportunity to give A.J. Preller a lot of credit. We did our part, stayed in the fight. He does his part, Sana Pavetta, the moves, Sheets, Iglesias, under the radar somewhat moves with the resources he has. Club scratches and claws, fights your tail off to stay relevant at a trade deadline, and he goes and pulls the trigger and gets his help. And, unfortunately, Ramon wasn't able to stay with us through this ride because, him in the 7-hole could have made a big difference, but he wasn't there. And we took our spot today with Iglesias, and he gave us a great at-bat. And, gosh darn it, Horner makes a play, and talk about the defense, and comes back around, Johnson gets on and gets the go-ahead run to the plate in the ninth. So, long answer to your question, but it's ultimately about nobody's going to feel sorry for you in this game. And we got a bunch of guys in that clubhouse that are hurting, but there's no regrets in that clubhouse for anybody. Our heads are high, and we know from day one that we laid it out there every day.
All right, Mike, thanks. We appreciate your time this week.
Thanks. Good luck to the Cubs.